Comier, one of the best that Sanderson will face all year long. Sanderson on the left of your screen now. The orange uniform will be Comier for the Cowboys. It always seems strange, Jeff, when you don't see a lot of Oklahoma State Cowboys in the finals.
There's been 3 of them here today. I mean, they've got some representation, but not enough to put themselves up at the top of the leaderboard. But in that feature that all of you fans just had an opportunity to see, the question whether he's the best. Well, I'm sitting next to the best. His name's Dan Gable. And I would love to hear what Dan has to say. You know, we'll look forward at the start of the second period to talk with Dan and hear his thoughts about Cael Sanderson. Of course, Gable, an Iowa State University Cyclone in his collegiate days.
Cael Sanderson loves to score points, and certainly Daniel Comier knows that. Comier, really a daunting task going against the man of the hour in college wrestling so far. And a lot of times when you get an athlete like Sanderson so dominating, it's very difficult for anybody to come and face him. Now Sanderson down low has the leg. Sanderson now has both legs in the first 2 points of the match scored by Cael Sanderson.
Now, Cormier's met him 3 times this year. He got majored, but then the last 2 have been decisions. So he's starting to understand how Sanderson wrestles. And Cormier's a great athlete. But he said when he faced Sanderson before, he was being cautious, didn't want to make mistakes. He didn't go after him using his own style of offense. And wrestling's about your style. And if you can put your style and impose it on your opponent, generally the results are good. But Sanderson, boy, I'll tell you, great motion. What impresses me about him is he just moves around his opponent. Even though the opponent's trying to stop him, he does it so effortlessly. He's like water traveling to the path of least resistance.
Sanderson now building up the riding time. He's got half a minute on Comier.
He's got the far elbow too. He's got a lot of leverage on Comier here. If he can keep him in bounds. And look at him, he even risks going across his own back to keep him in bounds. It's a man with confidence.
Comier back up and out of bounds. And Fred Ambrose, the referee here at 184, puts him back to center. John Smith, head coach of Oklahoma State. No stranger to the big mat here in the middle. 2-0. Iowa State's Cael Sanderson on top. Working for his 1 minute of riding time, 10 seconds away from that. Appears all but assured of gaining a little bit of cushion with the riding time. Comier seems he's got no way out right now. Sanderson, as you said, Jeff, has to keep working to keep that riding time clock running.
Well, I think he was going to cut him loose as soon as he got his minute built up, and that's what he did. Look for him now in 30 seconds to try to get another takedown, and Cael will go after the takedown.
Under 30 seconds to go. It's a 2-1 lead now for Cael Sanderson.
He's so good at holding the head and reaching for the leg, and once he gets it, he's tough, and he does it again.
So quick.
I don't know if you call that an ankle kick or a sort of modified single where he's holding the head just to make sure he gets to it without the man being able to sprawl.
The 9 seconds to go in the opening 3-minute period in a championship match at 184. Bobby Douglas, Iowa State Cyclones. He'll take full credit for all Cael Sanderson is brought to the mat, right?
His dad deserves a lot of it. The Wasatch program kicked butt in Utah.
Closing seconds of the first period. It's a 4-1 Sanderson lead. We'll be back with period number 2 and Dan Gable right after this. Welcome back to the NCAA Division I Wrestling Championships, joined by Dan Gable. Dan, thanks for joining us. Very interesting to watch this man going to your alma mater.
Well, this is the, I've kind of lost my voice a little bit.
I don't blame you.
I'm mostly in the stands, but this is the one young man that's probably got some talent that could really go with him. If his mind's there, and I can see already that because he's lost that first period, he's just a little bit behind in his reactions, and obviously it's but Sanderson was forcing that action. But if there was one thing that Coach Smith wanted to do was to get this young man ready for one match with Sanderson this year, and this is the match right here. So You know, he's got that opportunity, but he still hasn't been able to capitalize on it just because Sanderson's been on him. And you talked about that single leg or that ankle pick. It's a combination, you're right. It's a kind of a new scoring theory that the real good ones are really using right now. The Brands brothers do this a lot. All you do is have to touch a guy's leg, and you go with their body movement, and then you tackle the other ankle. So all you have to do is touch them about at the knee, and you just carry on in. It's not you're not penetrating yourself, they're penetrating you because you're going with them. So he does this very well, and you end up at the ankle and knee, so there's no defense, and you get a lot of scoring on the edge of the mat, and he does this very well. And because of this, his scoring opportunities are at all times there. Now, Comier is the guy that Coach Smith thought could go with him, but right now he's down 5-1. And obviously, if it's a mind game, he's in a bad situation right now.
Yeah, I think he's going to be playing it a little bit cautious, and right now he is. I would think he would try to turn up the offense a little bit. And if you don't, that's sort of respecting Sanderson too much.
Well, you know, it's like you want to do something yourself, but all you're doing is fighting him. And so basically, you're just depending on counters to win, and that's not going to happen when the guy's got an ankle and a knee.
Well, I have to ask you, in the feature about Cael Sanderson, they talked about, is he the best collegiate wrestler ever? Certainly you, with the string of victories you put together, 2 national championships, a disappointing loss as a senior. What's your opinion of Cael in history?
I have a tremendous feel for him right now because he just doesn't let up. Right there, he was, you know, the guy stopped him once or twice, and it was the 3rd time they got him. But, you know, he's on track to be the best. You know, that's just the bottom line. You know, there's some things that I did with pins and those type of things, but he likes to do more technical falls and a lot more scoring, whereas I was more of a control wrestler. But in his, you know, not to put too much pressure or give him too much credit yet, just from the standpoint that, you know, he wants to go beyond college. So, you know, he's going to have to go on and do some things after that at the international level, World Championships, Olympic Games, and before he's going to be satisfied and feel like he's the best wrestler. But, yeah, if he goes undefeated this year and next year, you know, I think he's got that title.
Well, 4 national titles, that would certainly, only one other person's ever done that, Pat Smith. Is there a Larry Owens lurking out there? Well, Owens being, of course, I'm going to preface that, Owens defeated you
right,
your senior year.
Usually if there's one out there, he don't want you to know it, because then you start preparing for him too. See, I didn't know Owens was there until the tournament started, so he did a good job of masking him. And once he came there, he was pretty much prepared for me, and I was getting involved in a lot of the things that was going on in the tourney. I wasn't focused as much as he did. So you're always vulnerable. So if there's a Larry Owens out there, you know, he better not tip it off to Sanderson.
One point I had also, Coach, is that he's been so dominating at 84 that you're not going to put your horses, being the other coaches maybe, into that 84 category. You're going to put them up in weight or bring them down in weight. Are you going to avoid a guy like Cael Sanderson as a head coach?
Well, I'll tell you what, the referee called Sanderson for stalling, and he called Comier, and I'll tell you, there hasn't been much stalling in this match.
No. But would you, as a coach,